Wow, Frank, I can't believe it. It's already time to get on air and talk about everything Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA on the Everyman BJJ podcast. I'm Noah Green. Frank Forza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I just want to let people know this is the best and most spontaneous podcast out there that's covering the mindset stuff in the fight sports and the combat sports, and it's covering the jiu-jitsu stuff. This is a lot of years, and I will put these topics, these conversations, these stories up against anybody out there. What's popular isn't always what's best. I'll put it up against anybody out there. I've been doing this a long time in this storytelling biz, in this fight biz, in the combat sports biz. Let's dive in, Noah. I was telling you, I was training today, getting ready for the American Nationals. So, fittingly, I got an IBJJF American Nationals shirt on. I look a mess. I look disheveled because I went and trained. And then I was going to go home and shower and do all that good stuff. But instead, I came by Whole Foods. They got the salad bar is back. So
What?
COVID killed the salad bar. And I thought the salad bar is far and away the best thing at Whole Foods. It was my favorite. You know, you got like 80, 90 ingredients, and you can mix and match, make your salad right there, right? You know, because people don't want to go through the trouble of cooking. Cooking is a pain in the butt for a lot of people, but when Whole Foods lays out 60, 70 things, you just make your salad, and then the only way you can really mess that up is to go with, you know, all the they do have processed stuff. They have canola oil and they have crappy salad dressings and things like that. But when you know what you're doing, you can get a really good. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go to Whole Foods. The salad is back. Salad bar is back, and let's just rough it. We'll just show up. We'll come as you are. Here we are. So, but today when I was training, my shoulder came out of the socket, and it wasn't like a violent roll. I wasn't going. Guy was very good about it. I'm 135 pounds. He was 155. Good roll. But I just kind of leaned back, and I don't know if I reached or something. It was very modest, and the shoulder came out for the 15th time. I'm counting it. I count every time it comes out. 15th time. So I was like, you know. He stops, and he's like, what happened? You know, why are you reacting like that? He's looking at me, and I said, you know, grab my arm, and he grabs my arm, and I directed him. I had to guide him, which is risky because there's a lot of people that don't take instruction very well, and they could mess that up. And at first, he kind of tried to yank the arm. You don't. When the shoulder comes out of the socket, it's intuitive, and in life, a lot of things that are intuitive. I'm a person that loves intuition. I love intuition. I think intuition is a superpower. However, some things that are intuitive are just wrong. They're just wrong. The instinct would be your buddy's arm is dislocated. It's out of the socket. Just yank that son of a gun back in the socket. And I'm not saying that can't work, but you could do a lot more damage to your buddy's shoulders and the nerves, and that's not the way to go about it. It's more of a traction. It's more of actually pulling that shoulder, pulling it out in the same line that it is, whatever line it is, pulling it out, traction, creating a traction slowly, gradually. So anyway, within 30 seconds, he gets the shoulder back in the socket. I'm like, I mean, at that point, he's the best human being alive in my book. At the moment that the guy puts your shoulder back in, it's like, dude, you're the greatest human on planet Earth right now. You're the most important person in the world to me right now, right? And so I'm just effusive in my praise, and he's just like, hey, he wants to go back to rolling. And I'm like, dude, we're best friends now. Like, thanks so much. You know, you don't realize what you just did. And so anyway, I wait 10 minutes, and then guess what I did? And I'm not advising anybody else to, but guess what I did? I rolled. I had four more rolls, and rolled for 20 more minutes. Got a great sweat in, and then went on my way, and then came here to Whole Foods and ate a great salad. Now, part of the point of that is, you know, you and I are talking about working around injuries, working around when work life or whatever, real life interferes with our training, we get out of shape. real life happens, because this is the thing. You cannot compare yourself to everybody else, and you have your own unique life circumstances. You didn't start training when you were 5 years old. Your parents weren't driving you to jiu-jitsu practice when you were 5 years old and making it easy on you, and then you just got comfortable and became a wizard. That everybody's life circumstances. The hand is dealt differently. So you can't judge yourself by the same standard of an Andre Galvão, because life is very different. You're a different human being. There's a lot of different. So the only thing you can do is say, look, you know that you can do more. You know that your life can be more balanced. And that's all any of us can do is say, look, I know I can do a lot better. I know I can have my life be a lot more balanced. I know I can invest more in my body and my mind and my spirit. What's interfering with that? But anyway, for me, because I'm hard-headed and I'm stubborn, and because my dad played in the NFL, and because my mom had a real high pain threshold too and was 5'0", but was a really tough woman. My mom was a tough woman. She wasn't around that much, but when she was around, she was a tough woman. She was a tough chick. She didn't take guff from nobody. So I think my theory is I got a pretty high pain threshold. Like genetically, I think I got a pretty high pain threshold, and then I'm pretty stubborn on top of that. So anyway, since every time the shoulder comes out of the socket, one of the good things about that is you get the biofeedback. You start learning, what does this shoulder want to do? When is it vulnerable? When is it? And it's not like, oh, you just go with somebody big and strong, and so that means the shoulder comes out. It doesn't work that way. I mean, someone big and strong could be yanking on my shoulder. It will not come out. I could take one false move and put the shoulder at the wrong angle. I could be by myself working out, and the thing will come out. It came out one night while I was asleep. No, I was in bed.
Wow.
I was asleep, and it came out while I was asleep. That was freaky. You wake up at like 3 in the morning, like, and you're trying to process what happened. But anyway, I just thought, you know what? I know this shoulder. We got it back in the socket quick. I'm still going to do American Nationals. I'm still going to do that. I'll probably tape it up pretty good. But I trained today because I thought, we got it back in the socket pretty quick. I kind of know where it doesn't want to be. The odds of it coming out twice in a practice. It popped out once at the IBJJF World Championships, Masters World Championship. It popped out once I shot on a takedown. It popped out. I managed to get out of bounds, popped it back in. And then the ref was looking at me like, what did you just do? Now, if I had told the ref, and my shoulders came out, but I popped it back in, we're good. I don't know. I don't know what the ref would have did. The ref might have medically, hey, what you said, you said what? I didn't want to take that chance. So I did not explain to him, yeah, my shoulder just came out of the socket, and then I just kind of popped it back in. But anyway, I only say this because a lot of us in the combat sports, I'm not encouraging anyone else to do that. In fact, I think the vast majority of you should not do that. But you look at other sports, Noah, and you look at a lot of professional sports where athletes go on injured reserve for all kinds of things. And, it's like the combat sports athlete, the dedicated combat sports athlete. And I didn't fight in UFC. I didn't fight in MMA. I didn't fight in a boxing ring. But I don't like people calling me a hobbyist. When you do this as long as I've done it and as many hours and as intensely and at the level that I've done it, I ain't no hobbyist. A person who's a hobbyist does not just pop their shoulder back in and then keep going and, training in a really good room like that. That's not a hobbyist doesn't do that. That's not a hobbyist. You got to kind of be a different breed and know what you're doing. So anyway, that happened today. You've been wanting to talk about injuries, so I guess that whole thing, there you go. Now we have a recent story to match it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you're on your journey right now to, your competition journey. You're back on it. It's American Nationals. What I wanted to talk about today was how do we go from where we are? Can you cover your microphone?
Sure.
You just put your finger over the microphone. How do we go from where we are right now to, just having ourselves at that high performance level? And I was thinking about it, and I've said this before on the podcast. In my research, what I've learned is you start developing little rule sets. Like, oh man, like right now for me, I gotta get moving again. I've been on the work, very little life, in jujitsu terms. And I feel a little, and we'll get into this other second topic, which is, man, I have that lingering I have like a little gray cloud following me. It's like, man, how long are you going to be a blue belt? How much dust is on that belt right now after COVID-19 and all that. So what I know, like cerebrally, uh, I know that, if I just start making little rule sets of things, I'm going to slowly get myself up to tempo and just stay on that path of like increasing the little rule sets of, and what I say about rule sets, it's just that this is self discipline. These are, how do you get from low self discipline to high self discipline? And um, I believe it's just you just start working with small rules, and you gingerly step yourself into where where what I say is hardcore. The boot camp approach in the Marine Corps, it's like sudden, like there's just so much right away, okay, and it's so intense, and they back off, but you still have that every once in a while. They'll reinforce that. So my years of experience in that mindset, of it, and I've done it professionally too. Where you go for a period of time where things are pretty calm, and then you go through a regimentation phase where you get very disciplined. You start increasing those rule sets around you, and okay, now like for me, my sleep is a big deal. So I've been really tough on my sleep, because when you get your sleep right, that's the keystone for unlocking other areas. So once I get my sleep right, then I'm not going to, I'm not staying up late to binge eat. I'm not staying up late to binge eat. And so, now I start, so then that kicks off its own cascade of improvements that happen. And so you get to a point that, okay, now this is kind of calmed down. Let me take it to you gradually step yourself into it, because anything done suddenly isn't going to stick. But anyways, that's my philosophy. Have you seen that in your practice? Have you seen that in your experience?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, I do have the privilege to work with some people on the mindset stuff, mind jitsu. It's not where most of my money is made. I wish I made a lot more money doing mind jitsu because I love it. It's my favorite thing to teach. But I do have clients. I've had some pretty good clients, and I had a client recently. You made me think. So it's like, where's the starting point? Like, we a lot of times it's not that we're not. It's not always that we're not, like no matter who you are, there's always going to be a lot of room for improvement. Tom Brady, I don't care who you are, there's always a lot of room for improvement. But what really frustrates a lot of us is that you feel like you've got all these magnificent pieces and you can't put them together. You're like, you've been living in your own skin for 35, 40, 45 years, and like, wow,
50.
if I could just if I could just put it all together,
Yeah.
I've got something amazing. I've got an amazing
Right.
cake, or I've got an
Yes.
amazing recipe here, but I don't know how to put the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you get so frustrated, you're like, I wonder if I'm ever going to be able to, because I've been trying so hard and I feel lost. And what I would say is, it starts with an image. It starts with an expectation. It starts with your standards. It starts, like I was telling this client of mine recently, how would the best you move? How would the best you talk?
Mm.
What words would the best you use? How would the best you dress? What would the best you do on a daily basis? Like, just starting with an image. And the problem with most people is they're so used to their life just being ho hum or underperforming, that when you ask them to do that image, they don't do a very good job. Which is why in my TEDx talk I was encouraging people to exaggerate, because you'll tend to aim lower. You tend to aim safer. Let's do something we know we're going to definitely be able to do it. And so it winds up being so low that it doesn't really change you. It doesn't really transform you. It doesn't really fulfill you. So when you've got to do that image, it's like, if we were to take that image and say, what would the best Noah Green look like, right? And when we say, what would he look like? It's like, what car would he drive? What house would he live in? when he walked in the room, what happens to the room, when he treats other people, what's his mindset when people do messed up stuff to you or disrespect you? How do you handle that? Like, what is the best Noah Green, like really in detail, vividly, specifically, what does he do? How does he handle adversity? How is he in adverse situations? How is the best Noah Green in a tournament match that's close, that's in the last minute, that's close? Well, how does this guy move? How does he think? How does he handle things? How is he as a coach? When you spend time in metacognition, thinking about thinking, when you spend the time and energy on painting that image of you, and what would the best you look like? Now you just start with, this is the best me. You just start with one day. Okay, this is the best me I can imagine today. What would the best me do today? Forget about what's I'm probably going to do, because then you'll start limiting. Oh, well, it's going to kind of suck because I got to do this. But if you could draw up the day, let's forget about the year, the lifetime, the legacy. Let's just start with the day. Okay, the best you. If we had a clean slate, a whiteboard tomorrow, what the hell would you do? You said, and I agree, you start with your sleep. Well, the first thing I do, because the day really starts the night before. The day, that 24-hour clock really starts the night before. It starts with sleep. So, okay, I would get to bed at such and such time. I might listen to certain things or go through different mantras or whatever in my mind before I went to bed. And then I wake up, and then, okay, what would the best you do on an ideal day? And then draw up that ideal day. Write up that ideal day. Forget about, again, most people will get wrapped up in practical versus ideal. When we want to create that image, that ideal self, that higher self, we can't play in practicality. Well, this is what I normally do, and this is what I would do, or this is what I normally do, let me improve it by 20%. If you're just improving yourself by 20% and that's your new image of yourself, that's too practical. You got to go ideal. And it might take you 10 years to reach the ideal, but you got to know what the heck you're aiming at. And if you don't have an ideal and you don't have an image, then you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall. You got to know what you're aiming at. So I would say, Noah, for me, what I've been teaching some clients and what has worked for me, and I'm still a work in progress for sure, but what has been working is the idea of, this is really who you are, Frank. This is your ideal self. This is your best self. This is your highest self. And this is what he would do. This is how he thinks. These are words he uses. These are habits he has. And then, of course, I fall short of that person. But
Yeah.
I'm aware of him now. And when I'm aware of him, it starts to create a standard. And standards create habits. A lot of times, standards precede habits. Show me your standards. If the standard is excellence, the habits are going to be different. So habits are wonderful and habits are crucial. But a lot of times it's the standard, and you get to pick the standard. You get to pick your standards. And when you pick your standards, and these are my standards, then the habits are next, and they kind of naturally fall into place. If the standard's very low, then the habits are probably going to be pretty weak and not produce that much. Now, a word of caution, okay, and I'm throwing a lot of people here. This stuff I'm talking about, it does work. It absolutely works. It takes time. The key is, just like anything, just like the white belt in jiu-jitsu, just like the blue belt, there are going to be bad days. There are days where Cranky Frankie shows up and I'm not at all anywhere near that person. And you've got to be resilient, and you've got to be adaptable, and you've got to dust yourself off, and you got to keep going, and you got to recenter, and then you got to start aiming at those ideals again and those standards, and then those habits. Start with a perfect day. Try as much as you can every day to fulfill that perfect day. And that's really where you start. Word of caution. It's not as easy as I'm saying. You're going to have bad days. We're all due. You wake up, you don't know what the hell. None of us knows what phone call you're going to get on any given day. We don't even know. We don't know what news is coming at us. Every day's a new day. We could get a call to change our life. We could get bad news. We don't know. So you gotta be resilient and tough and patient. And this is what I want to say. And I say this to my brother, I say this to clients, I say this to myself. don't take your eye off that ball. Don't you dare take your focus off of that ideal, what you're aiming at. Don't you dare. When you get lost and you get distracted, go right back, recenter, and refocus. Keep your eyes on the prize. Don't let anything in life take your eye off that prize. Keep your eyes off that prize until you bring those other bigger things to life, and then aim at new challenges. But that's the key. Life is going to try to distract you, take your focus off of it. Don't let it. Keep going, keep enduring.
So, how many times a day do you think, or I should say, how many times a week, or how should I measure? So, what you've done here? Let me hold that. Let me rephrase all this. So, I want to keep this in the context of my training in the gi as a blue belt. Okay, and so all the auxiliary activities around that. My goal. So we have to. So I have to start with an image. I have to start with an image of how can I be. I've got to. What? How can I be the best blue belt that I can be? And let's just start with that, because I think that part of the that's a terminal. There's a terminal and an enabling. This is military speak. You have what's called a terminal objective and an enabling objective. An enabling objective is, I need to do the thing. These things, I need to do whatever it is an action verb, and that's what the enabling is. I need to do these things so that I can terminal objective be a high quality blue belt on the mat at 50-year-old professional, not a professional blue belt, but a 50-year-old professional who is a blue belt on the mat. So if I'm because I think what this conversation, and I realize that as we're talking, it lacks specificity. I need to get more precise in what I'm talking about here. And so the precision is.
Well, you've said to me before, Noah. You've said to me that your ideal weight, okay, now
to compete at, yeah,
is 185 pounds, and you've
yep.
been there. You've tasted that. You've been down at that weight, and you're a whole different animal at 185 pounds. Now, a lot of people would look at you and say, "Oh, there's no way 185 is too slim, whatever." But you could get down there. You've gotten down there before. So let's just say that when we start with this image of you and your jiu-jitsu game, we imagine you at 185, 190 pounds. It doesn't matter if, yes, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's true today. We know that you've done it before. We know you can do it. We know that you've been down there before, and we know you move different. We know you feel different. We know that your jiu-jitsu expression is different at 185, 190. So we might start with that. Now, just holding to that ideal, just embracing that ideal means, okay, we would have to do certain things nutritionally. We would have to do certain things in terms of exercise and workout. So it starts to make it easy for us to start to build around that. Just with that one fact, it makes it easier. It's like, okay, when we start drawing the map of saying, well, gosh, how would we do that? It becomes a lot easier because we know exactly what we're aiming at. And we know it's doable in this case because you've already done it.
Yeah.
You've already done it before. So we
Absolutely.
know it's achievable. Then it becomes a question of, okay, what is stopping you from moving toward that ideal today? What is preventing that? I know how much you work. I know that, I know that the life things that you have, my life things. But I guess the question would be, what have been the impediments, the obstacles? And then we'll talk about how do we navigate those?
Lack of, okay. I'm gonna say this. So I have as my, there are certain values that I'm working with here. Okay. I'm working with values. The thing, and those are like metrics. How do I measure up to my values as a blue belt, competing at 185? All right. Well, obviously, now that if we start to, you know, plant the flag and say that's where I need to go. That's my ideal. I'm giving you an image now of like, wow, that's a dangerous blue belt. You know, I'm going to be a dangerous blue belt where I'm going for the submission. So I'm starting to add some adjectives. I'm going to start building out a very precise image of what I'm shooting for, what I'm my target. And then around that, I have these values, consistency, athleticism, um, composure. These are values. Composure meaning I'm not getting what I want, but I'm not losing, and I'm not losing my composure. Because I'm going to express the value of resilience. Fail, go again. Fail, go again. Fail, 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 fail. Go, go, go. No stop. No giving up. Tireless. Just this um, this hunger for it. So this advice. So I've got to say that to answer your question is I need to work through something called the willingness to to um, to deal to deal to in what do you call it, to encounter, to experience the willingness to experience discomfort in the service of my values.
Well, let me say this. So you mentioned, and the soft skills are very important, right? The intangibles like resilience and discipline, and you've got some outstanding, I like your values, and you've got some really good soft skills. But in this case, where I would go in the beginning is I wouldn't worry about the soft skills are huge. We all know that. The intangibles are huge in outcomes. But in this case, when we're looking at the ideal and getting you to 185, 190, and getting you competing again and training regularly, what I'm just more interested in, and what I think is a better starting place is, okay, if we wanted to get you to 185, 190 and competing again, what does that take? The soft skills come later. Like if we just know, okay, Noah would have to be training 5 times a week or training 4 times a week and then supplementing with this. He'd have to change his diet. We would do this, this, this. He'd have to run a tighter schedule with work and family stuff, whatever. So really, we'd worry about that, and then the soft skills would be later, where we'd say, okay, we already have the plan, we already have the map. The map has been made in terms of time management and training. And then if we were coming up short later, we'd worry about the soft skills. Hey, I'm not being as consistent as I want. Maybe I need more accountability. Maybe I need a coach that, whatever, holds me accountable, calls me, whatever. But I'm worried more about making the map, drawing up the map, and then the soft skills. Okay, what's holding us back? Knowing you the way that I do, I want to suggest something, and I mean this. You know that I think very highly of you. I think very highly. You and I are good friends. We've been through a lot.
Oh yeah, we have been through a lot.
We know that life happens. It's happened to both of us. We've been high. We've been low. We've been,
in, out, up, down.
We've seen it all. So I'm saying this lovingly. I'm not calling you out, but I want to suggest. I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to say, but is it possible? Because you love Henzo, great. You love New York City so much. You're just, it's a great city. You love that city. That city fits what you do, even professionally, so much. You've had, some great years. You're now in Las Vegas for now, but you love New York City so much. You're such a Henzo Gracie fan. You love that atmosphere. You love the classes. You love everything about that. No matter where you go, you want to get your black belt from Henzo Gracie. Is it possible? I know that COVID happened, a lot of things happened, but is it possible also that because of that loyalty there, that you're not as comfortable going to some other places, let's say in the Las Vegas zip code, and that affects, like, because me, when I was in Utah last year, I didn't train jiu-jitsu at all, and a lot of that was COVID, but a lot of that was I didn't feel comfortable at the time just going to other people's gyms for reasons I'll explain later. I wasn't afraid, I'll get tapped or whatever. There were other reasons, but I was like, I don't know if I want to go to some of their academies. So that kept me from training. I'm wondering if maybe there's some of that with you that has been an impediment, that has been an obstacle to you being on the mats more regularly, because maybe you're thinking, well, I'll get back to New York eventually and I'll get all that training in Henzo's. But in the meantime, we don't know when you're going to be back in New York. We don't know when you're going to be back at Henzo's now. And so we're here in Las Vegas. And we say, well, okay, what can we do right now? Where could you train? And is it possible that, and this is a normal thing, by the way, you're not unique. You're not unique. Is that one of the issues, one of the impediments to you being, I know you're busy as all heck. I know that too. I know a lot of life stuff. But is that one of the impediments to you training, that you're in Vegas and maybe you don't feel as comfortable right now with some of the schools there?
Okay. Yeah, I can easily answer that one. First off, there's been a money issue, because my income was affected throughout the pandemic. So, that's just I have to choose. I have to choose, and jujitsu is expensive. So that's just something that I couldn't afford. To be quite blunt, I need to watch my budget. I need to make sure that everything's covered. Now, I'm going to flip what you're saying, or I'm going to answer that in a different way. I actually, um, God forbid, my professors back in New York hear this, but I kind of want to surprise them that I have advanced when they see me, because I feel like oh, Noah's back. Let's see if he's improved. And I've let them down in the past. I feel that I've let them down in the past because I have been away from New York, and I go back to New York and they're like, there's no advancement here. Well, I don't see anything different. Hobson, Sapo, and Neiman, Igor. Igor told me just in 2020, he told me just keep coming. And I'm like, I'm trying, I'm trying to keep coming. It's just so hard. Now obviously, I'm back here, so I don't have that perfectionism, which is like I will only train at a Hensel Gracie Academy. It's more, in fact, I'm more open to it. I'm more open to training elsewhere, but I'm going to be respectful and let the professor know I'm here to take everything you're going to teach me. And you're me rolling on your mats. I'm a guest here, and I'm a visitor here, and it would be many years before that would change me, before I would change that mindset, because that I think that's a proper thing to say at some point when the time was like, I'm just a guest here, I'm not signing up to be to be a flag bearer. I will proudly wear the Hensel Gracie gi everywhere until one day I go, okay, but I don't see that happening ever. Um, but so it's not really that issue. But I think there is. However, is there a perfectionism? Absolutely. And that perfectionism is this weakness in my mind. And it's this: oh, if I were just to do a little bit more, if I were just to do more physical prep, I'd be ready to return to the mat. So to me, that's my problem. I think more so than anything else.
Well, and I think you have something that I've battled this, where you have someone like you that's kind of a workaholic. I'm a workaholic. I mean, we're
A
guys,
little bit.
you're not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of it. And a lot of times you get so consumed, especially when money is tight and we need money, and we just get so consumed with our work and our projects that we literally, as much as I've always told people, you should be getting up out of your chair, and here I am. I pump my legs. I don't know if people see me, but I'm always pumping my legs when I sit here. I'm always pumping my legs. But we should be getting up every 30 minutes, even if you're writing, whatever. But when life happens and you're working on projects and you got deadlines and you need to make that money. Bills are due. And I mean, a lot of us just get so, we just almost like we see red. We don't want to do anything else as much as our brain knows we need to work out. We need to this, we need to get to jujitsu. I mean, it's another level, when those financial priorities and when they're there. And I know that that's happened for you. It's like especially with the work that you do, there are certain seasons where they're long hours and the money is really good, and it's just all consuming. It's obsessive. And so that can be hard because a lot of times, myself included, when we're so obsessed and we're so all consumed, that interferes with balance. Because balance would be, hey, I'm going to work 8 hours, 9 hours, and then I'm going to go do a 2 hour this or that. And then I'm going to go do, but when you've got these projects and these deadlines and you need the money,
And I got childcare, and my wife's working on her PhD. So
so there's
you
a part
gotta
of the brain almost. There's almost
balance.
a part of the brain that just goes into a certain mode, into a certain cave mode, and it's just there. And then those days add up of just just work, those priorities, real life. And even though there's this part of us that's like, oh my God, I'm getting heavier, I'm getting out of shape, but we get so caught up in that, and then it becomes a trap, because then the more we get out of shape, the more we're like, I'm not ready to go back and train because I'm scared to go
Absolutely.
back, because it's a lot of people. I'm not saying me, but it's
No,
normal for a lot of people. If somebody feels like they gain 50, 60, 70, they're like, oh, I need to go train jiu-jitsu, but then they're scared to go back because they know that they're like, oh, I'm going to just outright embarrass myself. So then they're waiting for the right moment to get in shape before they go
that's
back. And
right.
then
Yes.
that pushes it back so much
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Because
Exactly. That's one day when I have my black belt, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about that struggle because I don't, it's hard. It is hard when you get in this spot. You get in a bad spot. It's a bad spot physically to be in. My lower left back is killing me from walking. I can't imagine getting his name's Tsunami. Um, his number starts with a 3. I can't imagine me trying to roll with Tsunami right now. My back is killing me. From walking, and I'm out walking. Where the dog is pulling. The dog is pulling. I can't get him to break that. At some point it clicks. I hope. But with the dog pulling
no,
on the
we
leash, my
had
lower back's killing me. I'm like, oh, it's a
we
grind,
had
man.
we had another loss in the jiu-jitsu community here in Vegas. I'm not gonna say his name. Great guy, very nice guy, gentle guy, probably about 220. Trained since I think he trained 18 years or so here in Vegas.
Wow.
This guy was been trained a long time, and he's dead now. I don't know why. Nobody tells you why somebody died anymore. I was a journalist for years, and I wrote a lot about death and homicides and accidental deaths, and deaths in war zones, and
Yeah.
we as journalists, we would try to find out how someone passed away, right? We didn't, and then a lot of people though are more sensitive about it. Now, I'm actually of the mind, like, I think this is just me. I think people are too sensitive about why someone died. That's just my opinion. That's a personal opinion, and I believe the same about me. I believe, like, if I died a certain way, I don't have a problem with people saying that that's what I died of. I don't have a problem with it. If you as my friend, you're like, well, he passed away from whatever. I don't have a problem with that. I think, like, how we die is how we die. Well, I'm reading between the lines, and I think that there's a very decent chance that this was an overdose and this was a suicide. It was one of those kinds of deaths. And just just something we're seeing a lot of. We still see a lot of depression. Suicides are way up, and so it just brings to the forefront again this thing with mental health and navigating depression, and these are real things. And even for people that are consistent, that are tough, that are strong. This guy was good. This guy was very good grappler, and used to see him at Lifetime where you and I worked at. He used to see him over there, and had a kid as a young kid too. So I don't know if it was a substance abuse issue or what that was. But knowing his personality type, it wouldn't surprise me that whether it was substance, drugs, or he's not with us anymore. And he's a guy that can't be older than 40 years old. So
wow.
I guess the thing out there is bringing to the forefront again mental health issue, how important that is. And when we talk about jiu-jitsu, we talk about working out, and we talk about eating healthy, and we talk about getting to bed, we're talking about mental health, man. It's more important even than the physical, than the body health. Body health a lot of times should be a reflection of mental health. You got to have everything going on upstairs first, and then the physical sort of follows. I said, but I was saying today on one of my Instagram posts, as in the belly, as goes the belly, so goes the brain. And so there was this, symbiotic two-way relationship there between our mentality and our body health and our brain. But that's what we're talking about. I mean, I said this in the TEDx talk, and I'll say it again. By the time you're our age, life is coming to hit you upside the head with a steel chair. It's going to. Life is going to happen. And it's a rude awakening. And some people out there, because some people are so sensitive that it could take a lot less for them to be, if you really look at some people that are really seriously depressed or even suicidal, sometimes you might, someone like me who's been through a lot of stuff, you might look at their life and be like, hey, those aren't even big things, right? Those aren't even like big things. They're like, they don't even seem big, but they're big to them, right? Like what other people think, or somebody said something to hurt them, or somebody was putting them down, or somebody broke up with them, right? Maybe they were in love, somebody broke up with them. Some people are saying mean things on the internet, they're bullied. Maybe they have a stepfather or a parent that's very mean to them and whatever. Maybe they just have financial problems and they can't fix it, and they're tired of asking other people or whatever, and then they're just devastated, and they just, and then you throw in a little substance abuse problem, drug problem, and then and so it's, some people, it's not always that they have the worst problems in the world. It's just that in their head, they're the worst problems in the world. To us, they might seem like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I don't know, this old friend of mine, I mean, maybe he had financial problems, but I'm thinking, as somebody who's had financial problems before, I'm like, that's not a reason to, that's just me, that's not a reason to, easy for me to say that, but that's not a reason to check out. That's because the thing with a lot of these problems, and I would say this to people watching for mental health, the thing is, most of our problems are fixable. Most people's problems are fixable. I mean, I have a buddy who's in a wheelchair, and he's had a lot of stuff going. Like, he's not going to get out of that wheelchair probably, unless some biotech firm or something comes up with something incredible. He's probably going to die in that wheelchair. I mean, there's a chance that, some invention or something, but he's probably going to be. And he types with, he puts a pen in his mouth and he types, and he has to type like this. I mean, now he's got other things going for him. He's a super smart guy, whatever. But most people's problems that I've seen, they're fixable or extremely improvable. That's the good news. The question is, do we want to sign up for the cleanup? Do we want to sign up for the cleanup? I had a buddy of mine who I love, and I just helped him. We're like renovating his place. So I've been helping people move. It's been the biggest pain in my butt in the last few months. Like move. I move, people move. I'm like, oh, it is a pain in the butt, right? It's like, move, carrying this to the dumpster, carrying this, you're carrying all kinds of stuff that's awkward and heavy, and I'm not that big. It's like, oh my God. So we're helping him clean up. And it reminded me of a metaphor for my life, for a lot of our lives. I'm like, this is what it's like. It sucks. If you've ever helped anybody do a move where they've got a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of heavy lifting, there's a lot of stairs. If you've ever helped any move, you're like, when does this over? Like, this just keeps going, like the move that keeps going. Oh, we have this. Now we have this box. Now we have this. Now we, people that have a lot of stuff, okay? The clutter people, the clutter kings and queens.
Yes.
When you help the clutter kings and queens move, oh my goodness, it just never ends. And at some point, I don't care how patient you are, because I'm patient, you're just like, oh my goodness. Like, but guess what? It's the perfect metaphor for a lot of our lives, which is there is no house out there, Noah. There's no house out there that can't be cleaned or just destroyed and then rebuilt. There isn't one. There's not a house out there that can't be made better than it is. There ain't one in the whole world that can't be made better than it is. There isn't a house out there that's so filthy that we couldn't bring it back. We either renovate the hell out of it, or in a rare situation, we rebuild the whole thing. There isn't one. And most people's lives are just like that. It's just like, but do we want to sign up for the cleanup? The cleanup ain't fun, and it ain't pretty, and it's a pain in the butt a lot of the times. But when you're done and you look at it and you look at the place and the floors, you can eat off the floors. Your feet aren't sticking to the floors anymore. The refrigerator's clean. The carpet's clean. Things are, you're like, wait, the whole house feels different now. It's a different house. It's a different experience. And that's what we have to do with our lives. We got to look at it like, we made a mess. When we start making bad decisions, that's how life teaches us. We make bad decisions, and life says, and sometimes it hits us with a steel chair. And then a lot of times we go, oh, okay, I just made 1,000 bad decisions. Now, in order to clean that up, so if you make 1,000 bad decisions in your house is a wreck. It's a mess. Floors are messed up, clothes everywhere, mold, this, that. Now, if we made 1,000 bad decisions to mess the place up, we're probably going to have to make at least 1,000 good decisions to fix it. And do we want to sign up for the cleanup? That's all it is. Most of our lives is just the cleanup. And part of the cleanup is kind of like the Navy SEALs. It's like anybody, just one item at a time, 1 minute at a time. Don't think of how much it's going to suck. Just start cleaning stuff. Just take this to the dumpster. Even if it takes you whatever, it might take you 3 months to clean that place. Just start moving stuff. Start throwing stuff away. People that have a mess in their house, they don't want to throw anything away either. They don't want to let go of anything. Like us as in our lives, we have to declutter. We have to let go of some things. We're holding on to things. Like, part of the cleanup is not just cleaning up dirty things. We're keeping things we don't need. We're like, the house is full of stuff we don't need. It's like, get rid of that. Don't be afraid to throw that away and say, you know what? That doesn't serve me anymore. I'm not with that anymore. I'm not with playing video games 6 hours. I'm whatever, if you're great at them, whatever. But I'm not with 6 hours of video games doesn't serve me now. 2 hours of video games doesn't serve me now. We have to learn in that declutter. What are we going to just throw away? What are we going to clean up? Are you going to sign up for the cleanup? If you do, I tell you what, man, you clean up your house. Like you were saying, you get to sleep better. You start putting good things in the shopping cart and in the fridge. Bro, I'll tell you what, you change the conditions. A lot of times, one final thing. A lot of times you don't need to change your mindset. Mindset's huge. Mindset's everything. But the paradox of mindset is you don't always change the mindset. Sometimes you just need to change your conditions. If your place is a wreck, I could have the greatest mindset in the world. I have a resilient, super strong mind, but my place is looking like crap, and it's dirty, and it's dingy. It's hard to have the best mindset coming home every day when everything's a wreck. It's dirty. Sometimes, you know what I need to do? I don't need to spend time on my mindset. I need to clean the damn house. I need to clean the mess. And when you change the conditions, the room that you're in, the stuff that you read, the stuff that's on your, that you're letting into your mind from your cell phone. When you change the conditions, when we change what we allow into our brain, it's symbiotic. A lot of times the mindset changes too. It's not always just weak-mindedness. It's change the conditions. You don't always need to change your mindset. Change your damn conditions. So, and I would say one thing. I'm a big fan, and I know I don't look the part today, I'm disheveled, but more and more and more in my life, I like things clean. I like really clean things. And I have a theory that a clean environment is like a clean conscience and life runs cleaner. I have a theory on that. That when we're more clean with our environment and more organized, that our life is more organized, that our mindset works better, that we're more productive. I have a theory on that, and you know a lot about that from the business world. If you were to go into one of these big business companies you've worked for, you don't see books everywhere and paper. You don't see a huge mess and everything's dirty and filthy, and then you people, no, you don't, because nobody trusts it and nobody would want to work in that environment. So a lot of us, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to start with our own environment. What's your sleep like? What's in your shopping cart? You know, are you exercising daily? Who are you associating with? And and how clean are you with things? And if you can just take command of those simple things in your life, then that starts to go a long way toward, okay, now let's take on the bigger challenges. But can we just come home to a clean house? And if we can't, what's going on? Like, how am I going to manage my life if my place is just dirty and filthy? Like, what's that say about me? You know? So anyway, these things, they're simple, but they're part of how you clean up your mindset and clean up your life. Clean up your damn room. Clean up your house. Clean out your car. Clean your body. Like, get to bed at a decent time. Clean your mind of the crap you're reading on the internet or on TV that you're letting into your brain on a daily basis. And I'm not trying to sound sanctimonious or religious by any means. I'm just saying, like, that it just works. It's just those, when you change those conditions, you're creating a new standard for yourself. When you create a new standard for yourself, you're going to create new habits, because you're going to want the habits that would support those standards or those values that you're talking about. If you don't know the standards and the values, it's harder to know what the habits are. And the habits just don't have as much meaning, because when you really understand why that standard, I could say I want this standard that's really high, but I got to have a really good reason for that standard too. I got to know what we say your why. Like, okay, I adopt these best standards. Well, why? Why do you want that car? I want the best car out there. I want the best Mercedes. Well, why? Well, just because it's the best. It drives fast. It's reliable. That's weak, right? Because there's no vividness there. There's no specificity. There's no depth there. A strong why, even if you told me why you wanted a car, it's like, I need to hear some depth in that answer, right? What's some depth? I want that car because, I better read some deeper reasons. One thing, when this is a trick question, guys out there that are dating, if you have a girlfriend or a fiance or whatever, every once in a while, she or he, whatever your significant other is, they're gonna sneak in a question. They're gonna blindside you with this one, and you gotta be ready, because you can mess this one up. You can mess the whole relationship up. And that question is, what do you love about me? What do you love about me? It's a trick question, man, because when you come at that significant other with, well, you're nice, you're kind, it's weak. It's like, okay, a lot of people could be that. We want specifics. We want, you remember that time that you did X, Y, and Z for me, that my car had a flat and da da da. We want, when you smile, your little dimple there does this. We want specifics. We want to hear a time. We want it to hit us in the heart. When they answer that question, we want to feel like, wow, I am I am loved. That woman or that man wants to feel like, wow, you put a lot of thought into what I do for you. You notice the little things I do for you. If you can't go deep and be specific, then you're not paying attention to the little things. People that really deeply love someone, they notice the little things, and they're ready to tell that other person the little things. When you get superficial, arching things, you know what? You're funny. You're just so nice, and I just love, whatever. You're a good kisser, whatever you are. And again, some people give that kind of answer or a little bit better. That's weak. And that woman or that guy is paying attention. Like, not the answer I thought. Not the answer I thought I'd get. So Standards go with the why. Pick the standards, but you better dance remember, I want excellence. Well, you better know what the hell your why is to support that. Otherwise, you ain't gonna pursue that standard. And when the why is weak, you're not gonna pursue that standard, and you're not gonna pursue those habits. You're defeated before you stop before you even start. People need to think through why. Why do I want that? Why that standard? Why is that standard a good standard? Why is that value a good value? If you don't know, then you got to do some metacognition. You got to do some deep work. You got to go and hike or do something or meditate and ask yourself some questions and figure out, why in the hell does this matter? Why is this one of the values I pick? Why is this the standard I'm picking? And if you don't know, take a trip somewhere or take a hike somewhere and figure that out. And when you figure that out, you'll figure out the standards and the values you're ready for, and you'll be more likely to start to enact the habits. And I would also say, clean up the mess.
Wow. Appreciate that. I kept, as hard as it might seem, as you said all that, I just kept, I was filling in some blanks as I was answering you. That's good stuff. Yeah, really good stuff to work through that. Because this is kind of like a simulation. As I'm a blue belt, I can get this, I'm in a simulation because as I morph into a blue belt with a stripe, a blue belt with 2 stripes, a blue belt with 3, and then with 4. Where are we going? You're moving on me. Yeah, you got your mic off.
I'm just moving the legs because I told you every 30 minutes, kind of get up, move the legs.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I've been crossing my feet. You see me moving over here. I'm adjusting my chair. Yeah, and I know we only have like under 20 minutes left. And I, as you're saying all that, I keep thinking of Harold. Harold is a Renzo Gracie black belt, and I roll with him, and I'm like, wow, everything I did was a bad decision. He's cut me off. Everything I was doing is a bad decision. There was, there was no way out. This was certain death. I was going to tap, and everything I was doing was that. And I'm like, and so I talked to him after the roll, and I'm like, Harold, have you trained elsewhere in Long Creek? He goes, no, I white belt to black, Renzo Gracie. And I'm like, man, that's what I want. And Harold's awesome. He's this old Jewish, like Jewish guy, like, no hair, got that small frame, and he just destroyed me. I couldn't use my weight. If I use my weight, it's against me. Everything I did. And I'm like, wow, Harold, you are an assassin. You're just an assassin. You're like a little troll. And that's what I don't want to be Harold. I want to be my own version of that. And, that's my ideal, and I belong to this fraternity. I belong to my tribe. I miss my Marine Corps tribe. I can't go back there. I'm too old for that. But I want to belong to that tribe. That's my tribe. I want to belong to it. I want to belong to a group of assassins. I want to speak their language. I want to go to Brazil and stay there. You punch in the. I'll do that too. That's my tribe, man. That's my people, and I want to belong to the Assassins Club. And I think if I allow myself to get distorted and if I overthink this, I'll expand it out to other areas of my life. But probably what I need to do, I need to put some blinders on, and really, I was thinking, well, yeah, I could apply all these things Frank's saying to the other parts of my life, but really, what I should do is I should just burn the flames onto that. Just keep it, instead of being so dispersed, because when you disperse energy, it diffuses. Concentrate it. I think that's what I need to do. Is I really need to get into Like, just get it concentrated in that. And all I need to do is I just go get on a mat somewhere every day, put on the gi. I just got my no gi pants in from Henzo's. They're size 44 and they're actually kind of big.
Maybe you can go to your neighbors and there and just be like, look, I'm starting a little, you've got mats in the ground. Hey, look, start corralling some of your neighbors and just even start doing that. It's been done. I mean, people have done that. It's like, just start with that. I mean, just, as I do find that a lot of times there's something very powerful about, when you tell someone you're going to do something. And again, unfortunately, I've had, many times in my life where I said I was going to do something and then I didn't do it, or I did it, but I did it a lot later. But there's something nice about being like, hey, more and more and more, I go out of my way to keep commitments and keep, that's very important. Like the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, be impeccable with your words. I think that's a great life principle. But, almost like just kind of lock yourself into things. Hey, tell so-and-so, hey, let's go jogging tomorrow at 5:30, or, and you have that accountability. Or tell your, whatever your neighbor says she's coming over to do jiu-jitsu or whatever, and you're just kind of locked in. Because what happens is the day comes and then we're like, if it's just a commitment to ourselves, I'm not talking about myself, but most people, if they made a commitment to themselves to work out tomorrow or to go to jiu-jitsu, life will happen, things will come up, and then most of them won't do it. But of course, once you start involving others in that decision and they're involved, it's like, okay, if you don't go, now they're not going, or now they don't take you seriously. Now you're not credible to someone. And so, that has a way. Accountability can come in many forms, but that's one form. Is like, okay, I'm going to join a bike club and they're going to be there at 11 and I said I was going to be there, or whatever. Those are also first movers. It's not an ending place, because that's not where you want to be. At the end of the day, you want to be back in the gym, whether it be Enzo's or somewhere else. But even if it's just something small where you start like, hey, my garage every whatever day, or running with your neighbor, or whatever, running with, your wife, whatever, just looking to make those little small commitments sometimes that hold us accountable. There's a lot of things like I don't want to do, but I told someone I was going to do them. Well, I got to do,
And he's stuck
and
like
then
Chuck.
when I do it, I'm happy. By the way, I want to say this. This is on a different topic. Mikey Musumeci competed at Flow Grappling again. I think it's absurd that people are questioning, how good this guy's no-gi game is. I roll with him. I've worked with Mikey years ago, and let me just say this on record. I mean, and I knew this before his last performance, the other day. I mean, this guy is arguably, he might be the best expression in jiu-jitsu very soon. He might be the best expression of anything. Gi, no gi. There's just nothing like him. I mean, there's other names that people are talking about, and we can talk about Roger Gracie, certainly the greatest of all time. There's other names we've talked about here before that are in the discussion: Gi, no gi, Shanji Hibero, Andre Galvão, and I think Lucas Lepre, and just there's some huge names like that. But honestly, you're talking about now gi, no gi, just grappling. He's got to do it at ADCC. He's a little undersized, so it'll be interesting to see him at ADCC, because he's a lot. He's going to be significantly, even though he's 5 or 6 pounds. I mean, a lot of guys are going to cut some weight and then they'll be there. The guys will be they'll be really going to be bigger than Mike. He's going to be on the small side for an ADCC 66 kilogram guy. But I'm telling you what, man, he might. Watch, this guy might be the best out there or anything. He said he's training 12 hours a day now.
Well,
12 hours a day.
That's a lot of rule
now,
sets to get to that point.
Yeah, I think he's including study time and watching video and everything. But that's the level of dedication for a guy who's jiu-jitsu IQ. And the thing about Mikey, and I was thinking this morning, the thing that really separates him is that, and I mean this as a compliment, because he's so laser focused. He doesn't have anything else. He lives with his parents. makes plenty of money, lives with his parents because he loves his parents. They love him. He's already graduated college. I mean, I think he was a straight A student. I'm pretty sure Mikey was a straight A student in college. So that kind of guy, right? You know, straight A student. Academics were really important. Sister Tammy got a law degree. I anticipate Mikey will go back to school at some point and get some advanced degree, whether it be a law degree, an MBA. He'll get something. I anticipate that. But his life's very simple. He doesn't have the distractions and the life hassles that other people have. He doesn't. He's very insulated in a good way, in that it's like all the guy's got to do is train jiu-jitsu now. That's all he's got to do. He doesn't have he doesn't have to worry. He doesn't have to worry about money. He's got plenty of money.
But he's a professional, though.
Yeah,
like
he's professional.
Yeah, like you wouldn't compare what I do, professionally.
No, but my point with him, the point I'm making with him is that he might be the best in the world, and I'm just looking at the conditions. I'm talking about him, not
what it takes to be the best in the world.
Not just the best in the world, because you and I are better at 100 other things than he is. He happens to be the best at that. Yeah, he might be the best at that. But we're all, as I've said many times, we're all white belts at something. So I have a problem with putting somebody on a pedestal when, there's a guy who's better than me at this, but I'm better at 50 other things. So, it's hard to say. It's not good to compare to each other, because you're my superior at many things. I'm better than you at a lot. So we all have our things. And sometimes when someone's a world champion, we value them more as a human because they're so great at that one thing, when the reality is maybe they can't do anything else. It's like, well, is that really a better, does that make them a better human than whoever, when, it doesn't make sense.
There's some logical fallacy with
when
that.
You extrapolate.
Mm-hmm.
But just sticking it only to jiu-jitsu, this guy might be the best out there already. I'm telling you. He might be. And just in terms of the IQ and the techniques, there's other guys getting more fanfare. They talk better. I'm telling you, having trained with the guy. He might be the best out. Don't be surprised if in a year or two that people are saying that he's the best. I'm not saying the best of all time. I'm saying the best out there right now, whether it be gi, no gi. Don't be surprised if in 1 or 2 years it's Mikey Musumeci. He's that great, but in his particular case, not comparing to the rest of us, because we all have different life situations. In his particular case, I think part of his genius is his life is constructed in a very simple way. There's not a lot of the clutter or whatever. He's not married, to my knowledge. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't have the distractions. He doesn't have many money issues. He doesn't have to worry about money. He lives with his parents. He loves that. He cooks food. And he trains jiu-jitsu, and that's it. He does seminars. And so life is very simple. And then again, for the rest of us, we might have a lot of balls in the air. We juggle. That's our life. That's our dharma. And so in this case, it wouldn't be a good idea to be comparing ourselves.
Oh, it's horrible to. That's horrible to do that.
Yeah. I mean, Mikey's parents were driving him to private jiu-jitsu lessons when he was 5 years old. So it's a different animal. And his brain is really wired for that, to do that. But I think that Mikey might be the best out there already. I think if he won an ADCC title, people might catch up to that. I think he might be the best expression of jiu-jitsu out there with anything, maybe. I mean, it's possible. He just tears through. You saw, he just tore through a world-class. He's done this so many times, where he tears through world-class people in a minute, 2 minutes. That's hard to do. There's other guys out there that say they're the best, but they're playing with their prey a little longer or whatever, but they're not even finishing. Like, he's going through them, bop, 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 bop. What's it called? Checkmate. Bop, 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 bop. Move, 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 checkmate. I mean, it's just, anyway. But, so I just wanted to say that on record here, so that in the next year or two, when that probably happens, that people understand that it's not a surprise to someone who's trained with Mikey, but his life is very, very different. And, I feel like, again, Noah, this gets in, my buddy was saying the comparison's the thief of joy. This is a very important lesson, like you're saying. We should never feel small in the mats. That's why it's so essential when we go on the mats to see the humanity, to see the light in everybody that we train with, because it would be arrogance of me to think, well, because I've trained so long and I've won quite a bit, and I've gotten good, pretty good. It's a mistake, because somebody else on the mat might have saved somebody's life the night before. There might be somebody there who was a doctor who's in the ER the night before and they're a white belt and they saved someone's life. Somebody else might be there and they take care of their mother. Their mother has Alzheimer's or something, and they take care of their mother, and then I'm going to act like, because I'm a black belt, that I'm, I'm better than, okay. It's a joke. It's a joke. So we're all on those mats. We are all equal. We're all valuable. But the only rule is, like, when I went to 10th Planet and trained, I remember Casey Halstead, the coach there, he's like, I did some open mat stuff there. I love it. And anyway, he said, before the class starts, he puts the time on and he says, okay, the only rule is don't be an a-hole. Go.
Nice.
That's pretty good. That's good.
Nice. As you're saying these things, I'm working on, now I'm just focused on my thing, which is, I can't do, that's not the right standard for me. That's not the right image for me. And a lot of what Helio Gracie did was like, I need to make this work for me. And he's saying, about what he did for his own body, small, frail, and he built himself up, he changed the techniques to make it work for him. I want to, I can't be Harold, Harold is Harold, but I can definitely, work within my next step of what I do, and just work on that. I can work on my own thing and be, if you start saying, Noah, let's bring it back to, why do you want to impress Neiman and Hobson and Sapo when they see you on the mat next? I would say, I wanted to let them know that, like, I'm living my standard, which is I'm continuing to train no matter what. Well, then I didn't do that though for this past year. Well, no one did really. I mean, except for the, freaks, who were really going out there. Jordan is Jordan. He's a young man that he's not living my skin. So where do I go from here? I took some notes today. I'm going to go and revisit that image and dust off my blue belt, throw down the mats, and just get in my gi every day and just start working. I can do that. I can do yoga on the mat. I should be able to do my warm-ups. I can do my warm-ups here. That, it's like, okay, well, set a timer, 30-minute warm-up. Go out there in that hot-ass garage, drink plenty of water, and use that as your sauna time. I could do that.
Say, even if you were just doing shadow boxing, jumping rope,
I can't do any of that.
Even movement drills.
I could do that.
Movement drills, hip escapes, umpas.
I can do that.
And technical stand-ups and etc. I mean, those still at least keep the muscle memory for jiu-jitsu style, rolling backwards over your back, over your shoulder and that sort of thing. Those are still, even the animal stuff, the animal movement training, for some reason it reminds me that I'm a martial artist, and I don't just think I'm a jiu-jitsu. I mean, I used to think I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt, or I was a wrestler, or I was a competitor. I think I'm a martial artist. I mean, that's what I am. I'm not great at every martial art, but that's really what I am. I'm a martial artist, and you're a martial artist. It's just, as long as you're sticking with it. So don't be afraid to, to do some, get out there and do some other martial arts. You get some Cali sticks or What's the guy's name? Bob. You know, the guy Bob, the punching bag Bob. We should get a Bob for you at your head. That'd be great. Remember the guy Bob? $250 Bob. You punch him. He's like the ultimate punching bag. You've seen him.
Oh.
He's like He's like a Marine. He looks like a Marine.
Oh. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's at a minimum. I could, at a minimum, I could put on my gi. I got a gi. They're not all at Henzo's.
Put on a gi, and we should do viral videos. You put on a gi and just go in front of the video and in front of the mirror every day and just do like affirmations, and then that's your jiu-jitsu training.
No, I mean I could do more than that. I could do more than
That's
that.
it.
No, I can do more than that.
We could probably we would get way more views if we did that than apparently giving master classes on mindset. Apparently that's not, we're just not. Nobody respects us because we're just two guys. But if we did something in jest, something humorous with you in a blue belt and talking to yourself in the mirror and I can do this, si se puede, I feel good, I can do it.
See you both.
And then I could just belt you, and that could be it. I could just belt you, like if you do that, like 10,000 hours of mirror work with the blue, the blue belt, I give you a black belt.
Oh no, I don't mind being
your commitment. Because of your commitment to visualization, I give you a black belt.
I don't mind being the muse for the podcast, but I don't need to do. I don't need to inflict that kind of harm on myself. I just got to do it. Big boys just got to move. I got to move off this chair. Hey, speaking of which, we've been sitting here long enough. It is 3. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Which is a blast. I cooked some picanha earlier. Ate it. That's probably contributed to my sleepiness. What happens is I have lunch and I jump on the podcast, and I'm running around. And I stop, and it's cool in here. It's dark. You have a lot to say on your monologues, and I'm listening. You see me, and it's not because of what you're saying is boring. I'm taking notes. It's just my body's like.
It's not a good look for the viewer. You're not setting a good example for the viewer. No.
I'm sorry. It's just, I ate some steak. I ate some
I'm
picanha.
putting my shoulder back in the socket and training, and you're sitting there. I'm giving you master class worthy.
I know, it's sad.
Said content, and then you're whatever that is, tryptophan or whatever it is, the turkey or the red meat that you ate. That's
it's just horrible. It's just horrible. Thank you. I hope you know it's.
I'm a very forgiving person.
It's just my body's like. You don't give me any caffeine since afternoon or 11 o'clock or 10, and I cut it off so I could sleep.
Good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So hey,
well, listen, brother. Happy Sunday to you. It's been a good podcast. I hope people, appreciate that there are some gems in here. These things have taken a long time for some of us to come by, a long time to incorporate in our lives, and they do work. They work for a lot of people, so we give them a shot, and I'll just listen, like you said. Go out and do. Go out and play. Go out and sample, and that's it. So anyway, no, I'm gonna go eat. I'm hungry again.
Okay, great. I'm gonna go and wash dishes.
All right, see you, bud.
Yeah, I gotta do the dirty work. All right, well, it's been great. Everyman BJJ.
Great metaphor.
And Everyman BJJ podcast coming at you 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, Sundays. We'll keep them coming. We're always cooking up stuff. I got to go do some work.
Bye, buddy. Go clean up.
I will. Take care.
Sign up for the cleanup.
Done.